There are new signs tonight of growing relationships between Russia and China as the leaders are expected to meet next week for a summit of Russia and China. They are expected this summit to draw a lot of attention, showing a sign of strong relations between the two nations. It is the second time, by the way, that they're meeting this year. The U.S. will be keeping a close eye on it as well, as you would expect. It comes at a time of political fallout for both countries in the West. Correspondent Kelly Meyer joining us live in our nation's capital tonight with an update. So, Kelly, what do we know about this upcoming meeting, the summit?
Well, Marty, the two have grown closer, not further apart, as Russia continues its invasion of Ukraine and as tensions between China and Taiwan remain high. Now, this will be the first in-person meeting since Russia invaded Ukraine. The two met just before that during the Beijing Olympics and declared a, quote, no-limits partnership, backing each other over standoffs on Ukraine and Taiwan and promising to collaborate against the West. And remember, President Xi also asked Putin to delay invading Ukraine until after the Beijing Olympics, which Putin did. The Olympics ended Sunday, February 20th, and Putin invaded Ukraine just 4 days later on February 24th. China has yet to condemn Russia for the invasion of Ukraine, and Xi didn't join the rest of the West in imposing sanctions on Russia and instead criticized the U.S. for inflaming tensions. Here's the White House on the meeting between the two leaders.
We'll meet with President Xi next week in Uzbekistan. And obviously, that's one of President Xi's first trips out of China since the pandemic began. And I'm wondering if the White House sees it as a concerning signal at all that for his first major foreign trip, President Xi is choosing to meet with President Putin, and what kind of message that sends to this White House.
So, you know, and we have said this before, I'm not going to speak to reported meetings between other countries. That's not something we're going to do here. It's not something we're going to do from the White House. But we've made clear our concerns about the depth of China's alignment and ties with Russia, even as Russia prosecutes a war of aggression on Ukraine, an unprovoked war, as we have said, a brutal war. But again, I'm just not going to respond or make comments on a meeting that other countries are having with each other.
And in a meeting with Chinese officials today, Russian President Putin says he hopes to meet with Xi next week in Uzbekistan. That's in Central Asia next week. And Putin adding that a new world order is being formed to replace an old one dominated by, quote, a collective West led by the U.S.
Kelly, this meeting coming as Russia and China are engaging in some joint military drills. What more can you share about that tonight?
Well, they're called the Vostok, that means East, 2022 exercises. It's happening in Russia's Far East, and it runs from September 1st through the 7th, and it features several ex-Soviet nations, China, India, Syria, Belarus, among those taking part. And it involves more than 50,000 troops and over 5,000 weapons units, from 140 aircraft to 60 warships. And it's really sweeping war games involving troops from China and other nations to show the West their level of cooperation. Not only that, but also their military might amid tensions over the war in Ukraine. Marty?
A lot more to this partnership, potentially. All right, Kelly, thank you. Let's bring in retired Lieutenant General Richard Newton now. He has decades of experience in the U.S. military, has also been following the situation between Russia and Ukraine since the very start in February. Great to see you, as always. So is this meeting next week between these two world leaders, Russia and China, an indication that Russia right now is becoming more isolated with the war?
Well, good evening, Marnie. I think, yes, he is becoming more and more isolated, not only politically, but economically as well. But the interests of both China and Russia, specifically Putin and Xi, as long as they're aligned and they are aligned against the West, then yes, they will continue to show solidarity. They'll continue to strive to be aligned in a matter of a number of national security issues for both the countries. As Kelly reported, that joint military exercise, that's significant. It involved Russian forces as well as China's forces. And so that shows that they're aligned and that they're moving not away from not being aligned, but closer to alignment, as certainly the issues that Putin's facing both economically and politically. And Xi, by the way, is facing economically as well, as exports are starting to slow down and so forth.
Who needs who more at this point? Who benefits most from close ties?
Well, as long as they are united against the West, both benefit. And I believe that for different reasons, Xi needs this relationship to be solid, as well as Putin does, because they really are isolated on the geopolitical, the strategic stage around the globe. An interesting point here that I'd like to make is that Xi decided not to take his first outside China trip. He had intended to go to the G20 in Bali to meet actually with President Biden or attend it with President Biden. He's decided to go to this summit, which is really a much lower level summit in Uzbekistan, to meet with Putin. And so all of this is lining up for a purpose. They're not doing this by accident. They're showing their disdain for the West. They're trying to support each other, either Russia invading Ukraine or China having issues with Taiwan, especially on the heels, if you recall, our conversations back in the first week of August of Speaker Pelosi visiting Taiwan. So all this is lined up strategically.
The White House, as you heard just a moment ago, is not commenting on this upcoming meeting. But how does this further impact U.S. relations with both these countries at this critical point?
Well, if I'm the White House, I wouldn't comment either, because if you comment, you make it significant, then it rises in terms of its significance on the geopolitical stage. But again, the point here is that we should all be concerned that Xi and Putin are lining up. They'll continue to line up, and then they will create some momentum through the next several months. One other point I'd like to make is Xi faces not a test per se, but he's up for, if you will, re-election in their 20th Communist Party. They'll have their elections. They will meet in November. And so he feels now that he's got that under control. Therefore, he's very capable and willing to leave China and meet with Putin. And this, again, will be the first trip he's had since the pandemic. It's significant.
One we'll be watching very closely, and also on the heels of reports that Putin is buying weapons from North Korea, maybe a sign some of those sanctions are working. General Newton, always good to see you. Appreciate your insight.
Thank you, Marty. Good evening.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.